When I first started work in investment migration, one of the more common questions I had was about ease of access to the EU. People wanted to acquire citizenship that would come with visa-free access to the EU. And a lot of the Caribbean CBI programs offered this. There are 5 countries in the Caribbean that sell their citizenship. And for a donation to that country, you would donate some money to the government, or you buy a property. They, in return, would grant you a citizenship. And as a citizen of that country, you could have visa-free access to the EU. Now, to get a citizenship in these countries, whether it's by property or donation, is not easy. You have to go through quite a strict due diligence process. It is not easy. It's a bit like opening a bank account. You have to submit a lot of information. You have to submit bank records, clean criminal background check. You have to basically show that you are an honest, stand-up individual, where your money came from, how you accounted for it, what you do for a living, and you have a clean record. Even a driving conviction can flag and delay an application. And that's just our side. That's just what we have to do working with solicitors to get you ready to apply. When the government takes a file and makes their decision, they go through even deeper checks. They have access to tools we don't, and they'll do a full background check. So they're very strict on who they give resident citizenship to. And this is very annoying, especially if the EU is now writing to these Caribbean countries to say, hey, if somebody acquired a citizenship for investment, we don't actually want them in the EU. Now, you can still visit the EU. Don't get me wrong, you're not banned from entering the EU. You just have to apply for a visa, which most people do. Unless you're born in the EU or somewhere like England or the UK or America, you generally get 90 days visa-free access. And that's what people wanted. Now you'd have to apply. Now, in theory, yes, you can. If you are a citizen of one of the Caribbean countries, generally you can still access the EU visa-free. But it's likely to change. The EU has written to the Caribbean countries and said that you need to wind down your citizenship by investment programs. Otherwise, we might restrict visa-free access. Now, I don't think the Caribbean countries are going to stop their CBI programs because it's very good money. It counts a lot of their country's finances come from this, a lot of the donations. If you visit some kids, you could see it. You could see how that money is spent on the infrastructure. So I don't think they're going to stop their programs. So there's a serious chance that if you do acquire a Caribbean citizenship, you might lose visa-free access to the EU. And we would not advise a client right now to buy a Caribbean citizenship to get visa-free access to the EU. It's not going to happen. It would be a big gamble. However, the programs have remained incredibly robust. This has been on the news for several months. It's well known in the industry, yet more and more people are still applying for CBI programs. They don't seem fussed about the EU. And to be honest, I'm not particularly surprised because the EU conversation we had a year ago, very different to the EU conversation we're having today. See, originally, when people wanted to come to the EU offered a lot to them. But now it's slightly different. Now, don't get me wrong, the EU is a very special place. There's some beautiful countries in the EU, Spain, Italy, France, etc. Really nice places. I holiday in all of them, and I really enjoy my time there. But the EU has now become famous for slightly different things than it was originally. See, originally, the idea of going to the EU on holiday, have nice wine, sit on the beach, enjoy the scenery, you can still do that. But the EU is now famous for illegal immigration, high taxes, high cost of living, crime in some areas. It's not the wonderful place it once was. Don't get me wrong, it's still a nice place. I'm not knocking the EU, but it does have its faults. And people are no longer looking at it as a prime source of where they want to relocate. Yes, there are many people, certainly our American clients, who still want to move to the EU, and we advise people on how to do this every week. But there has been a big shift of people going the other way. We're now seeing a lot of people from the EU and our American clients also who are looking at other geos. What could replace the EU? Where is the next EU going to be? The qualities the EU had 10, 20 years ago, where would we find those qualities now? And that is where the southern cone of South America is very interesting. Now, I am a little bit biased. I live in Santa Catarina, Brazil. I absolutely love it here. I've been here for several years. I relocated here and I'm very, very happy to do so. But close to me, I also have Paraguay. I also have Uruguay. I have Chile and Argentina. And these countries make up what we call the southern cone. And if you are looking for good weather, good climate, nice food, good wines, beautiful landscapes, Safety, well, these areas have it. And there are certain pockets of these areas which have huge German influence. Now, don't get me wrong, there are areas which are still a little bit undeveloped and need some infrastructure building and some money invested. But that is happening. You just have to look at the skylines. Even where I am now, it has changed massively in the last 15 years. I see more and more high-rise, super modern condos being put up every few months. And this is the same throughout the Southern Cone because a lot of wealth is moving here. It offers a lot of the appeal that Europe had 20 or 30 years ago is now happening in the Southern Cone. And that is why so many people, particularly American clients, a lot of people from Europe, are looking at the Southern Cone as an option. So if you would like some information on what the Southern Cone can offer, whether it be Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, or Brazil, then please do reach out. The link is in the bio, and myself and the team at Frederick Capital will be very happy to send you the information.